Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Today we're going to be talking about our hunt for the Mothman in Waukegan, Illinois. We'll start by telling you a little bit about Waukegan. I feel fairly qualified to talk about this place because I did live there for a while. And I can tell you that while I lived there, I always had this vague sense of impending doom. So I'm not entirely surprised that there are Mothman sightings in Waukegan. There are reasons for this impending doom. I mean, there used to be a nuclear power plant right up the road in Zion. I guess technically it's still there. It's just not running anymore. There was a Johns Mansville plant that kept pumping out asbestos into the water and the atmosphere. There's Abbott Laboratories nearby, so when the wind was blowing right, you could always smell those thick chemicals in the air. There were two separate incidents of race riots in Waukegan that I can recall, and there's a fair amount of crime there. And more recently, I remember there was a random explosion in Waukegan.
It was so loud you could hear it from like several towns away.
Yeah, we were actually in different towns when it happened, each at least 10 miles away, and we both heard it when the explosion took place.
Yeah.
It must have been loud.
Yeah, it was some sort of a plastics factory or something that went up, but you know, with all that in mind, it just seems like disasters right around the corner in Waukegan. Every time I go there, the whole time I lived there, I just always felt like something horrible could happen any given moment. And I'm not surprised at all that there have been people seeing Mothman there. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he has his own apartment on Green Bay Road. I think Mothman should be living in Waukegan right now. There have been a few locations where he's been seen. There's Bowen Park, which apparently there have been multiple sightings in. We just found out about recently. There's Lake Michigan, and more specifically Market Street near Lake Michigan. And then there was another, I hesitate to call this Mothman, it was more of a vague cryptid that was actually reported on our website, or to our website, by one of our readers or listeners, about this strange looking cryptid walking down Sheridan Road near the Roberts Roost Motel, which is actually, you know, a block away from Bowen Park. So definitely a lot of activity in that particular area, that little cluster there.
Yeah, I think they even said it might not even be a cryptid. It might just be a person with a weird looking face or something.
Yeah, that's right. This was certainly enough to get us to pack up and head to Waukegan to check things out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we realized recently we've been getting away from our roots here. We're about the cryptids, yes, but we're also about the food. I've been kind of trashing Waukegan so far, but the one thing I have to say is they have incredible food in that city. So many good restaurants. So we decided to stop for breakfast at my favorite breakfast place in the world, Juan's Chuck Wagon. Yours, I think you had the chorizo omelet, was that right? And it just looked like they handed you a pile of meat.
They did.
It was almost orange, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've never had that. I wanted to try something new. I don't think I'll try it again, but it's worth the experience.
I could hear your arteries hardening as you were eating it. You kept digging through it to see if there was any egg or cheese in it, but you just kept finding more meat.
Exactly.
But I went with a more traditional breakfast, and it was excellent. And their coffee is among the best I've ever had. It's that stuff is like 97 octane. It'll get you moving, and that was good because we had a lot of ground to cover after that. Our first stop was Bowen Park.
Yeah. So when we first got into the area, there was this big, giant park that was just... It was something that I've never seen before. It was like something that you'd see at I don't know, Disneyland or something. A great big park that I've never... It's just huge for that neighborhood. I was so confused.
Yeah, I was truly impressed. I had seen Bowen Park before, but they built onto it since the last time I'd seen it, and it looked like an amusement park. There was so much stuff to climb on, and swings and slides that seemed like 50 feet tall, and ropes, and wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, there was a forest with a bunch of it was a forest with these like stairs that seemed so ancient. It was kind of creepy. But yeah, we went down those stairs. We went
deep into the ravine.
Yep. We found quite a few tree formations, fallen trees that could be coincidences, could be something knocked it over. We were really questioning that quite a few times.
Now, when I walked through there, I was immediately thinking of an episode of Mountain Monsters we had seen, where they passed through a place called the Land of the Fallen Trees. And in that episode, they had said, okay, clearly a Bigfoot or something huge has been through there, because there are all these fallen trees, and they're not cracked in half, they're like uprooted. Something had torn them out of the ground.
Oh yeah, we saw that like big tree that like we could even see the roots at the bottom.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. That was exactly it. It really looked like that episode of Mountain Monsters. There were just dozens of those trees just laying around like that. But we weren't looking for a Bigfoot. We were looking for Mothman.
Yeah, it was. Now those kind of fallen trees are getting a little bit common, I guess, because we see them all the time in different forests.
It has me wondering if maybe those are ash trees, and maybe they are victims of the emerald ash borer, this insect that burrows into those trees and kills them. That's the only thing I could think of that could cause that many trees to fall at once.
Once more, I don't think it would be capable of having like the roots just torn out like that with that.
Right, that was big.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking maybe it collapsed under its own weight and just the roots came up when it fell, but you're right. I would think like branches would fall off and maybe it would fall in half or something. I don't know. But yeah, there were trees all over the place. It was a pretty dense forest for being in the middle of a city like that. The Bowen Park Ravine is pretty famous. There've been a lot of stories written about it. There have been people who've claimed to see various things out there, from ghosts to Bigfoot to Dogman to Mothman, but more recently the sightings have been Mothman.
Yeah, I could see all of the sightings being that, really.
Yeah.
Perfect mix of all of them.
Mm-hmm. And specifically, this Mothman sighting took place at or near the skate park, which was actually not right next to the ravine. It was a little further over.
There were like bushes somewhere, right? Where they thought they saw Mothman. Someone did. Yeah,
they were in the skate park or near the skate park, and there was like these bushes right by the edge of it, and they saw this figure standing in the bushes, and as they stared at it, the wings unfolded and it took off.
Yeah, so it couldn't be like a bird seen flying in the air. It was just the angle. They got a clear view of it.
Yeah, and they were questioned by other cryptid hunters who really believed their story. The people were clearly shaken up, and all of their stories matched. It was like 4 or 5 of them who saw it. And then we ended up getting a comment the other day. Somebody posted to our anonymous forum telling us that they had actually seen Mothman in that park, in a different part of the park. Just was it like a few weeks earlier than that or something?
It was like, yeah, it was like a few weeks, maybe a month before that. It was definitely before, which I find really weird.
Yeah.
Because you would think you'd see like the official reports being earlier than that, but it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, there are, that kind of just proves the point of that there could be way more sightings out there, and just people are just kind of quiet to talk about it.
As more and more people come forward with their stories, I think people are feeling a little more confident to tell their own stories, and we certainly hope that's the case here. We hope that as you hear more and more of these stories, that you start to share some of yours with us. So we searched Bowen Park. We took a very long walk through that ravine, and we cruised around the skate park, and we looked at the trees, we looked at the fields, we looked at the neighboring houses, we looked at the playground. We did not see Mothman, but we can certainly see why he would be in that area.
It was also you're talking about a nuclear power plant, like there was a pond or something that we saw.
Oh yeah, this wasn't the nuclear power plant. This was actually the ComEd plant, which is like a regular power plant. But it's very close to Bowen Park, and because it's a power plant, it has like superheated water coming out of it, or heated water coming out of it.
Yeah, so we were watching that pond, and I was like, I would not be surprised if I saw like a Mothman coming out of that.
Yeah.
Some mutated figure.
And then we cruised up the street. We took a look at Waukegan Beach, just to kind of get a look out over Lake Michigan to see if we could find anything, and nothing really jumped out at us there, but we spent a little time, kind of scouring the skyline. And then we went up to Market Street, which was where somebody had seen Mothman, apparently flying up out over the lake from Market Street, or from the field next to Market Street. That was an interesting area.
Yeah. The street was not what I expected at all. There weren't like a whole lot of buildings around. There were some houses. But there's like a field where all you could really see were like some furniture.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like a couch. I think a few couches actually.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like plain white. I don't understand why they're there.
Yeah, I think we found Mothman's couch. And,
yeah.
And we also found his toilet, as I recall.
Yeah.
He's got the full set. He could sit there and watch TV, and then he could just quickly fly over and use the bathroom.
Yeah.
He's got luxury.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that struck me as odd is, around that field, they didn't have a fence, but they had these huge concrete barriers. Like they were trying to keep tanks from rolling into the field or something. It was really strange. And the general area struck me as odd as well. It didn't feel like the rest of the city. It really felt more like the Appalachian Mountains. It reminded me of our trip to Ohio.
Yeah.
Just the hills and the woods and the rather threatening keep out signs we were seeing everywhere.
Yeah.
We did not see Mothman, although we did look at his couch and his toilet and several neighboring trees and bushes.
I can see why someone would find Mothman there though, because there was a lot of like open field besides the couches.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great environment for a lot of cryptids, and
yeah.
I agree. I could totally picture Dogman running through that area. Bigfoot.
It's the center of disaster, that area, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we come back to the whole impending doom and Waukegan thing. That was, you feel it pretty strong there.
Yeah.
Well, in conclusion, again, this is a trip where we didn't find anything, but it still made me believe in the accounts of the people who did see something, because I could totally picture a Mothman in any of those locations.
Yeah.
There was nothing that we found that disproved any of those reports. We didn't see any huge birds that somebody could have mistaken for Mothman. It reinforced my belief in the eyewitnesses, I think.
Yeah, especially with that lake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could see anything up there if it's close enough.
Yeah, we could see for miles out there that day.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like that clear.
No.
But you could still see anything that'd be up there for the most part.
Well, we got a really good breakfast out of it, and we got to take a nice hike through Bowen Park, and I think this is an area we might want to revisit again someday, especially if the cryptid activity keeps up.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, thank you all for listening, and please feel free to leave your comments in the space below, or if you would like to report an anonymous cryptid sighting, please do it on our forum, and please subscribe and tell your friends. Thank you.